Call the meeting to order. Oh, sorry. Good evening, everyone. It is 6:30 p.m. We're going to call the meeting to order. Notice is hereby given that a regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Sandy Oaks, Texas will be held on Thursday, February 25th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. by telephonic video conferencing, which will be live streamed and accessible to the public for the purpose of considering the following agenda items. All agenda items are subject to action. In accordance with the order of the Office of the Governor issued March 16th of 2020, the City Council of Sandy Oaks, Texas will conduct a telephonic video meeting in order to advance the public health goal of limiting face-to-face meetings, also called social distancing, to slow the spread of coronavirus COVID-19. The public may participate in this meeting by using the links and phone numbers that are provided on the agenda. The public will be permitted to offer public comments telephonically or by audio as provided by the agenda and as permitted by the presiding officer during the meeting by signing up with the city secretary at least 2 hours in advance of the meeting, or by emailing cityclerk@cityofsandyoaks.com, or by calling 210-607-0834. Written comments may be submitted to the city secretary up to 2 hours before the meeting by emailing cityclerk@cityofsandyoaks.com and will be provided to the city council for their consideration. A recording of the telephonic meeting will be made available to the public in accordance with the Texas Public Information Act upon request. Ms. Shelton, could you do a quorum call, please?
Alderman Fillinger,
Present.
Alderman Bricken,
Present.
Alderman Rapino,
Here.
Alderman Crickmer,
Here.
Alderman Puente,
Here.
and we also have the city attorney Cassandra Ortiz on with us. You do have a quorum.
Great, thank you. Item 2 on the agenda is the mayor and administrator announcements and updates. And I have one item on here, updates related to the weather, and I have another topic I'll touch on after that. So everybody's aware of the event from last week, and a lot of people have recovered with the damages to their property. There are still people out here who have not yet they're not back to 100% yet. If you are aware or have watched the news, between SAWS and Bexar County Commissioner's Court, there are some programs that are in place to assist those that have a need. And basically what happened, Commissioner's Court approved up to not to exceed place, which is a pipe repair, and then there was another item, and I'm waiting on the official documents to come in that we can share, but I do see some of it floating around out on social media already. But the challenge, and our commissioner, Miss Rebecca Clay Flores, and Commissioner Calvert kind of worked together on this, and the concern was that the program put in place by SAWS was a reimbursement program. And the challenge is you have people that have been out of work. You have people who have older homes that suffered tremendous damage, just the plumbing piece of it alone. And for them to come up with the funds initially for the repair and then seek reimbursement, that was where the challenge was. So the two commissioners have proposed a program where there is a marriage between the county funding and the SAWS program, and it will bring together the contractor and the homeowner to allow them to get the funding needed without having to do a reimbursement. So there'll be more coming out on that. And as soon as I have something definitive from the county on all the details, I'll be sure and share that with everyone. The other thing related to the weather that affected the city was we did lose water in a couple of places, and one of them was the animal control facility. There were Public Works and Animal Control worked together to bring in some temporary water and make sure that the animals that are there were comfortable and taken care of. However, down here in the park, we did have a break. It's a fairly serious break related to the bathrooms. We've had the plumbing company out here, I think 3 times already this week, and they are not done yet. And it's really unfortunate. It's a very major thing that has happened here. So it's being looked at. They will be out here tomorrow, and then they will come back and finish up the work. So that's all I have on the weather event. Although I do want to say that it was very heartwarming to see our community pull together and help each other out. It was really quite phenomenal, the amount of people, and people that don't even live here in our community but are in surrounding communities also reached out, offered their services, their supplies. I mean, it was really good. Picked up water. So anyway, enough on that horrible event. I do have one other thing I do want to share, and it came in today from San Antonio Metro Health. It's related to the COVID cases. So our case count in Sandy Oaks has increased significantly. If you recall, the last report I gave you from the December, I think we were at 265 cases at that time. Now through January 31st, Sandy Oaks case counts are now 407. That's a shocking number for our community. That's about almost 10% of our community has been affected personally by COVID illness. Vaccinations are occurring in our city. The pharmacy has received their first doses this week. And we have scrambled to put together some assistance for him because he is just a one-man show. So we have a separate phone number for people to call to get on the list. And yesterday he was able to deliver 20 doses. Today he delivered 40 doses. So he will get another order next week. And the beauty of it is that once you get your first dose, you automatically get an appointment for your second dose. So we don't have to do this part again. And we have a separate phone number that the city set up specifically on a mobile phone to take the calls and do the scheduling. And I have a few volunteers who have offered to help out. So there's a number of things. One of the challenges that we've learned this week was that we do need a translator because some of the callers don't speak English. So I have a couple of people here in the city that are available to work with the scheduling for those that speak Spanish, and then also be present at the pharmacy when that individual arrives so that they can help translate between the pharmacist and the patient. So we're working through all of those things. And you know, there's just a lot going on right now. Okay, item number 3 is citizens to be heard. And there's no verbiage on my agenda about that, but it doesn't matter. We do have one email that did come in from Douglas Tomasini, and he says, "Good morning. Please consider my comments and questions in the citizens to be heard portion of the 2/25/21 Sandy Oaks City Council meeting. The current agenda does not include discussions to approve or not approve funding for interior work on the municipal building, the installation of a wall and a door in the municipal building, and locks for the evidence room and the holding cell in the municipal building. Is the city planning to continue using the current City Hall evidence room and holding cell until funding for the above is approved? If my question can't be addressed and answered in the public council meeting for legal reasons, I would like to request an email response from a council member. Thank you, Douglas Tomasini." Okay, item 4 on the agenda. Consent agenda. All matters listed under consent agenda are considered routine by the City Council of the City of Sandy Oaks and will be enacted by one motion. There will not be separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. We have one item on here, which was to approve the minutes from February 11th, 2021 regular City Council meeting. I'm going to pull that item because those are not prepared. All weather related, if we can't get in here and get work, we can't get the work done. So we'll have that for the next meeting. Is Marshall Lopez on the call? Was he going to join us?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. We will go ahead and skip item 6. Item 7, animal control. Item A, updates and announcements from Animal Control Advisory Committee, ACAC Chair Jennifer Puente, with possible discussion and action. Ms. Puente, do you have any general announcements that you'd like to make?
No, not at this time.
Okay, thank you. Move on to item number 8, Public Works and Parks. Update and announcements from Park Advisory Committee Chair Tom Rapino with possible discussion and action. Go ahead, Mr. Rapino.
Yes, Mayor. The only comment I might have is that we will have a meeting on March the 2nd, and dependent on the outcome of this meeting, we may bring another member onto the Parks Committee, but I'll discuss that later in the meeting. So that's all I have for this particular part of the agenda item 8A.
Okay. Let's move to item 8B. Updates and announcements from Public Works employee Priscilla Schmidt. To my knowledge, she has no additional comments to make. We covered them with the weather related. They've been a little busy with some of the water issues. So we will move on to item C, which is discuss and or possible action to approve the appointment of a nomination to serve on the Park Advisory Committee. This was brought by Alderman Rapino and Alderman Fillinger. Go ahead, Mr. Rapino.
Yes, Mayor. Thank you. I would like to make a nomination for Mrs. Ashley Del Real to be appointed to fill a spot on the Parks Committee. First, I see Mrs. Del Real is present at the meeting, and I would like to ask her if she would accept the nomination before I ask the council to approve it. Mrs. Del Real, would you accept the nomination?
I accept.
Thank you very much. You'd be a great asset to the committee. Now I would
you.
like to ask the council to vote to approve the appointment of Ms. Del Real to be on the Parks Advisory Committee.
Alderman
I
Rapino.
myself vote.
Alderman
Yes,
Rapino, I think you need to phrase that in a motion.
I make a motion to approve Mrs. Del Real to be admitted to the Parks Advisory Committee.
I will second that emotion, or that motion, I'm sorry.
Now I have a song in my head. Thank you.
That's what ran through my,
So we have a motion by Alderman Rapino and a second by Alderman Fillinger to appoint Ashley D.
Yeah, to come through here.
I'm sorry?
Come right through here, even though it's the arrows are the other way.
What was that?
Sorry, let me. We have a motion by Alderman Rapino and a second by Alderman Fillinger to for council to accept the nomination for Miss Ashley Del Real for the Parks Committee. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Okay, that motion carries. And Ms. Del Real, welcome.
Thank you.
I hope to see you at the March 2nd meeting, Ms. Del Real.
I already have it on my
Congratulations.
calendar. Thank you.
Okay, great.
Okay. Okay, let's move on to item 9 under administration. Item A is discuss and or possible action on quotes received on skirting the new municipal building and approval of the purchase. So you each should have 3 proposals in front of you for the skirting of the building. Well, you should have 3. I'm going to throw one of them out right away. Yeah, that's obscene. We're not even going to talk about it. So that leaves 2 here. One is Alamo Transport and Development, and it involves hardy panel skirting with vapor barrier vents and factory built access door painted to match the home. Due to material charges, the cost will need to be confirmed at time of closing, and the total cost on that one is $5,900. And then we have another one from a Danny Avila Remodeling, and it is also using hardy panel skirting. It includes 24 vents, 3 access doors, and caulked and painted. And the total cost on that is $5,775. If I'm not mistaken, Alamo Transport, the person who presented this particular quote is the same person who did the skirting at the building here in the park. No, that's not true. Sorry, it's the other one. Got it. Okay. So Danny is the one. Okay. Oh, the second proposal for the $5,775, that is the specific individual who was working for Alamo at the time when we had the skirting done on this building. He's not with Alamo anymore. Okay, that makes more sense.
What's the other proposal for 1,250? Does that go along with the
The 12, yes, page 2.
skirting proposal?
Yes, so there is an additional charge on the one from Danny for $1,250, and what's happened is when the ADA ramp was installed, we had no barrier or skirting behind that structure that was built. And so in order to keep the rodents out, and I don't remember, is it a moisture barrier as well? That's something special that will happen just where that ramp and deck is on the front side and around the side of the building. So yes, that is an additional $1,200. What I don't know, let me ask Priscilla real quick. On the one from Alamo Transport, how were they addressing the area? They weren't. Okay. So just the skirting that they can get to. So that's the difference in the 2. And you have to remember that building is 56 by 94, 56 feet by 94 feet. So that's a lot of material for skirting that particular area. And there's a number of reasons that we would want to do that. One, of course, is we have an ordinance that requires it. That's number 1. Number 2, to protect the plumbing underneath the building. That was one of the real challenges we had with this storm, was making sure that those pipes were protected. But the other side of it is that it needs to be aesthetically pleasing. You know, it looks incomplete if we don't do that. But one of the other major issues is, remember, the animal control facility is also located on that property. And if an animal happened to get loose and decided to go hide up under there, they could do some serious damage. So This is most definitely something that we need to have done. And just for those on the call that don't know, the other quote was for $21,667. Just set that aside.
Okay,
Okay.
Madam Mayor, I will go ahead and make a motion that we accept the proposal from Daniel Villa Remodeling. And I would like to include both pages 1 and 2.
It's
That would be-
$7,225.
Okay, not to exceed $7,300.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion by Alderman Fillinger and a second by Alderman Rapino to accept the proposal presented by Danny Avila Remodeling for the skirting and the barrier on the deck for a price not to exceed $7,300. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye. Not opposed.
Okay. Then that motion carries. Priscilla, would you reach out to him tomorrow or Monday and just let him know that the council has approved what he's presented? Oh, okay. Okay, item B, discuss and or possible action on quotes received for movers for the new municipal building and to retain the movers. So, and when we were brand spanking new, we really didn't have anything at all. But over the years, we've acquired people and people bring things with them, like desk and furniture and supplies and all kinds of stuff. And so it's just not feasible to ask our very skeletal staff to try to move all of this when we vacate this building and move to the other building. So I asked them to get me some quotes for movers to actually do that. It'll go quicker. It'll be more efficient. These are people that know what they're doing. And so you each should have, I think we have 2 or 3.
3.
We have 3. Yes, we do. So the very first one here is 3 men movers. And their hourly rate is $160 for Monday or Thursday, and $150 for Tuesday or Wednesday, and $175 for Friday through Sunday. That's weird. Transparent travel fee is $99. I don't know what's included with that, but it does say the time starts when the crew arrives and you sign them in. The hourly rate will continue throughout the drive time to the final destination. The time stops when your crew finishes unloading your items and you sign them out. There is a 2-hour minimum. We will try our best to fit everything in one load. My challenge with this one, which, I mean, I don't know that the rates are unreasonable, but they really didn't give us an estimate of how much time they anticipate this taking. So that is one quote that we received.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
It says the time stops when your crew finishes unloading your items. You
Right.
have to unload?
Their crew.
Oh, it says your crew.
It's our crew assigned through them.
Oh,
Yes, okay.
gotcha. Okay.
Okay, let's talk about, who is this one? I don't have a name on here.
Yeah, that's what I got out of the email.
Does it have a name on the company? Okay, well, while we're waiting on that, let's moving. Does that mean that they are first responders, like a side gig? I'm asking, I don't know.
That I see one that the title of the document is first responders.
Okay, well, the one that I have printed has no name on it, so it didn't pick up the graphic or anything.
No,
But,
it's not on the form either.
That was the name of the document I named it.
oh, got it. Okay, all right. So they're showing this as a local move, no stairs, ground floor from both locations. They're calling it a commercial move, and they're giving some really light hours. So they're saying travel time for an hour and 30 minutes. Does that mean we pay for their travel from when they leave their facility till get here?
Madam Mayor, I think we can toss this out as being,
Fuzzy.
it's non-responsive. The estimated labor time of 45 minutes to an hour and 45 minutes is just ridiculously low.
I agree.
I don't think we should seriously take this in under consideration.
Okay, well, I would tend to agree. The next one, the third one here is Eddie Pintor Full Service Moving. I will tell you a little bit about what I know about this particular company. They took the time to come down to both locations so they could assess exactly what they were getting into. They came down to the current City Hall building. They went to the new building. And as an added bonus, they live here in our city. And they are professional movers. They do some fairly significant things like pianos, chandeliers, grandfather clocks. They have quite a few specialty type stuff that they do here. But I did like their proposal because it was much more what we're looking for.
In my estimation, this is the only reasonable proposal that we have received.
I
The
would
three
agree,
men
too.
movers has no estimate of anything except they're going to send two guys and we're going to pay till they're done.
Yeah.
First responder is ridiculously low in the moving hours.
Right.
So I'm thinking we should look real solidly at Eddie Pintor. They're looking at a 4-man crew and 11 labor hours,
Right.
which would be about a 3-hour move, but they have no travel time listed or anything else.
Right.
But having said all that, I'd like to hear if anybody else has any other opinion.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I noticed the mayor just said that they came down and looked at both locations. Isn't there a third location where we have furniture?
It's up at the other building, but it's not furniture that we're planning to utilize. I think it's like the old cubicle walls and stuff that we had here at one time and some old chairs. It's not, I don't think that is things that we're going to be putting into the new building.
Okay, I thought you had.
I think
stuff that-
I stand corrected. I'm being told there is one desk there.
I thought you had some stuff we got from the state or.
No, that's all in the new building already. And-
Okay,
and there-
okay, that's fine.
Yeah, and that's a good point. So all the free stuff that we got from ACOG went straight to that building, and they also they have proposed that they will go there first and move those items to the proper locations before they come here and get more stuff to take out there.
Marvelous.
Okay,
And it does say here, in the event that the job takes longer than 11 man hours, there'll be an additional charge of $34 every 15 minutes. And the only scenarios we see this being a possibility are the packing of boxes at the current location, if that's not complete, or having to rearrange and place some pieces of furniture multiple times. New location.
Oh, I hope that's my. Question.
To decide what we're going to do, if we're going to take this conference table from this building and set it up down there, or if we want to do something different, but that can be a different discussion altogether. Once we've determined how we want to configure that area down there.
If there's no further discussion, I would make a motion that we award this work to Eddie Pintor Full Service Moving in an amount not to exceed $2,000.
Okay,
I'll
before,
second that.
okay. So
Go
before
ahead.
we vote on that, I do see that Alderman Crickmer has his hand raised. Please go ahead, sir.
I was just curious about the time frame to get it done. Is that flexible? It has to do with the weather or our schedule, their schedule?
As we get closer to that, we'll nail down a particular time. My thought is that we do it on a Thursday or Friday, and we have to also be sensitive to the court when the court dates are, because we need to make sure the court is set up and functional. And so we'll coordinate it sometime that fits, that makes sense.
Sounds good.
Okay, so we have a motion by Alderman Fillinger and a second by Alderman Rapino. And I apologize, Alderman Fillinger, what was your not to exceed amount?
Not to exceed $2,000.
Okay, so we have a motion by Alderman Fillinger, a second by Alderman Rapino to accept the quote that has been provided by Eddie Pintor Full Service Moving for a cost not to exceed $2,000. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Will you, Ms. Schmidt, reach out to him also and let him know that we've accepted his quote? Thank you. Okay, item C. Discuss and or possible action on quotes received for internet service for the new municipal building and approve the purchase of the service. Did Jerry Lerma join us?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, good, Jerry, because this is in your area. So one of the things there's a couple things causing delays. The weather, of course, was obviously one of them. But getting internet service, it's not just like you call and they come flip a switch. I wish it was that easy. But this is a fairly significant implementation that will happen. So we have option in our community for 2 fiber providers, which is, unheard of. Normally you don't have those, especially in a small community as ours. So I reached out to both Joe Portman from Alamo Broadband, which is who we currently have service through for the city at the park location. And then I also went out on the state DIR contract and found a contact with AT&T because they also provide fiber service out here. What was very interesting is these two do not provide the same type of service. The Alamo Broadband, they use a shared service. And he can get us dedicated service, but then that's only going to lengthen the amount of time that it's going to take. And we're talking many months because it's a very complex thing that he would have to do to provide dedicated service. AT&T, on the other hand, does not provide shared service. They only provide dedicated service. So what I'd like to do is have Jerry kind of give us a little tutorial on the difference between the shared and the dedicated so that we all have a clear understanding of what each of those mean. So go ahead, Jerry.
Yeah, so with AT&T, they supply dedicated internet service. And that means that if they say that we should be getting 100 megs, that's how much we're going to be getting. And it's not being shared with anybody. With Alamo Broadband, they share the bandwidth. So yeah, let's say, for example, we get 1 gig from Alamo Broadband. And usually everybody is in school throughout the day. More likely shouldn't have any issue with internet losing too much speed. In the afternoon, for example, right now that everybody's home on a shared connection, we will probably going to lose some internet speed. But usually, if, for example, Alamo Broadband would give us 1 gig of data for the download speeds, if we lose 300 to 400 megs, we're still over 500 megs on a fiber connection that has no latency. And I think, Mickey, you have the price for Alamo Broadband and AT&T.
I do. There were some additional costs. He's waiving some construction costs. It was upwards of $1,000 worth of construction costs that he was going to waive for us. The recurring cost would be $199 a month for up to 1 gig of service. And he says, when we say up to, because the speed will vary somewhat based on time of day, network loads, and other factors that cannot be predicted. As Jerry has stated, even if we lost, 300 meg of a 1 gig service, we're not going to see the impact of that. When we talk about AT&T, their dedicated internet, if we went with 100 meg, I just want you guys to pay attention. 100 meg. Well, let's do apples to apples here. Let's go with the 1 gig. If we went with a 1 gig dedicated line through AT&T, it's going to cost us $2,311.60 a month, compared to $199 a month through Alamo Broadband. And Jerry, at minimum, if the decision is that we want to go with AT&T, what is the absolute minimum capacity that we would be looking at?
It all depends on how much internet we use in a peak time that everybody is in the office, sending files, anything, the phones are voice over IP.
Right.
They're using internet bandwidth. Now, phones don't use too much on send and receive data, but they're still using, whether it's 5 or 10 megs at the most that the phones will be using. And then Catherine, that she's in the court, running files, running the internet, checking on the website that she's got to look. The court clerk being on the internet, downloading, uploading, sending emails, the marshal, animal control, Chris, everybody's gonna be on it. We might cap it off.
Yeah.
The 100 megs.
Awesome. Okay. So, you think we could get by with 100 meg?
We can probably get by with it. Keep in mind, we're gonna have cameras as well,
right,
in there.
You all know that we have suffered down here,
right,
lag, and that's created a problem with our remote service for meetings such as this. And I know from the court perspective, I do not see that changing probably at least throughout this year. And to be quite honest, I'm thinking that the lawyers and everybody's kind of liking this remote option for them. So this could be the primary way of conducting courts going forward, which is going to require the bandwidth for that as well.
Right.
Now, each of these, Jerry, I know AT&T indicated that they need a 35-day implementation period, and that would be day one would be from the time that we sign the contract, and then
right,
it would be 35 days. I'm not quite sure from Alamo Broadband. I know the infrastructure is there. He has some construction work to bring it into the property, and then just the connections. But I think he would be less than 35 days, but I don't know that. Did you get a chance to talk with him and find out what? that-
No, I haven't been able to get a hold of him when I was over
Okay.
there.
One of
If
the,
I could,
I know Jerry and I have both had the same discussion about both of these providers. While AT&T, is historically, a reliable company. The downside is that their customer service is
Sucks.
broadband is local. He's here. I know where he lives. So there is that advantage. But I will open it up. I see that Mr. Rapino has his hand raised. Please go ahead, sir.
yeah, I've been waiting for Alamo Broadband for a year. And they haven't showed up yet. But I absolutely hate AT&T. So
But you don't have AT&T option either.
no, I don't. I won't get them either because I hate them. So I'll wait for Alamo Broadband.
Okay. I see Ms. Puente has her hand raised. Go ahead, ma'am.
I actually have Alamo Broadband. We have their fiber internet, and I love it.
Okay.
So when I do work from home, I'm constantly video streaming, and it does eat up a lot, but my kids are still able to stream at the same time, and we have no interruptions.
Okay,
So-
perfect. Alderman Crick,
Send them my way.
hand is raised. Go ahead, John. You have to get off mute. Well, we'll come back to you, John. Alderman Fillinger, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. Looking at the numbers here, Alamo Broadband is saying we may lose a few megabytes per second. So that's at 199 a month. If we lost half of that service, which would be 500 meg, AT&T's wanting almost $1,900 a month for that.
Right.
Simple math says, and I personally have AT&T fiber, and it's been reliable, but simple math, 199 a month versus $1,900 a month. I would suggest Alamo Broadband would be our better choice.
I see
I
Mr.
agree.
is he's physically waving his hand. Go ahead, Alderman Bricken.
To me, the big issue is Alamo Broadband. I've had them for years. I have that disc thing on the roof. It works okay for me, but my main issue is they have an office here.
Right.
And I believe we should support local business whenever possible. If these numbers were reversed, I'd say AT&T, but they're not.
Right.
And I think we can get better service from Alamo Broadband, but if we don't take it, how can we expect other people to support a company that's been here, has an office here, you can go down and talk to them, and get your excuses right in person.
John Crickmer, are you back with us?
Yes, I have a phone service with AT&T. I think they're very expensive and not all that great for the money. And I have Alamo Broadband from what we're on right now, and not a problem. Plus, it's local.
It is local, yeah. And Alamo Broadband was actually responsible for AT&T even coming out here. I don't know if any of y'all know the details behind that, but for years I've been working with AT&T to get fiber out here, and they kind of did a lot of lip service and then they disappeared. And almost as soon as Alamo Broadband broke ground to start installing fiber out here, AT&T just swooped in and beat them to the punch, and then they're gone. So, that from his perspective, and he presented at a council meeting once before, several years ago. He could not, he himself wanted fiber out here, and he could not get anyone's attention to bring it out here either. So he just did the next best thing and created he went and filed with the PUC and for his own CLEC. He's his own company, and there was nothing in place to prevent him from doing that. So he just made it happen. So I like the idea that he is local. He's also serves on one of our commissions. He's involved in the community, wants to see everything succeed out here. They're responsive. Again, I know where he lives. Go find him. I kind of echo everyone else's comments out there.
Can I add one thing to the session here?
Yes, sir.
What I've noticed with Alamo Broadband is that they are running everything underground, along with our service is also going to be run underground. And with AT&T, they have their fiber on the poles 20 feet up in the air.
That's true. So I'm glad you brought that up, because that is one of the other distinctions between the two companies. Is one is aerial and one is underground. Aerial becomes a problem when you have a tree fall.
Yep.
The line's ice. It takes the pole down. I mean, there's any number of things that could happen there. So
right.
That's a good.
Storms.
Okay. Any other questions?
The overhead and underground is about a 50-50 because, saws or anybody else doing any work could cut the fiber line.
Well, Jerry has specified with Alamo Broadband that the line will be in conduit.
Okay, then I'm going to let somebody else make the motion. I'm tired of it.
Okay. Who's that?
I move that we go with Alamo Broadband to bring the city internet service.
I'll second that.
Okay. So we have a motion by Alderman Rapino and a second by Alderman Crickmer to approve Alamo Broadband for internet service for the new municipal building. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Okay, that motion carries. And Jerry, no, you don't get to vote.
You should have
Okay,
paid
I'll
for
reach
it.
out. I'll reach out to Joe tomorrow and let him know what's going
Tell
on.
them to get my fiber down here.
Huh? Okay, item D, discuss and or possible action on approving an ordinance continuing or renewing the mayor's declaration of local state of disaster due to severe winter weather emergency and other matters related thereto. So if you recall, we did an emergency order back last year when COVID first came out. And there's it, and because Ms. Ortiz, I'm going to ask you to correct me if I'm wrong, but the way these work, by making a declaration, certain things are triggered. FEMA assistance is triggered, emergency aid. There's a number of things that an emergency declaration will allow to happen in a situation such as what we're faced with now. So I did issue an emergency order on February 14th, right behind the governor and the county Judge Wolf, so that we were in lockstep. It allows us to, it's part of the procedures that we go through for the Office of Emergency Management. It allows resources to be brought in if need be. It allows us to spend funding without bringing it back before council in those situations where there is an emergency that we need to address. I'll give you an example. I did spend $750 this last week to get food and water out here to people because that had been a real challenge. And I worked with Help for the Hurting. Is it Help or Hope? Hope for the Hurting. Hope for the Hurting. And they are a ministry that was able to source some boxed food and some cases of water. They were and some milk. That was the other thing that we didn't have. So we ended up with 70 boxes of food and 70 gallons of milk that we were able to distribute on Sunday. So it's things like that that will allow us to respond without saying, well, the council doesn't meet for 2 more weeks. So, you know, too bad, so sad. But it also leaves in place, as I mentioned earlier, there are some programs that CPS is putting in place, the county's putting in place, FEMA has some programs in place as well. And in order to take advantage of some of those things, an emergency declaration has to be in place. Ms. Ortiz, is that basically the correct answer?
Yes, that was a very good explanation of the purpose of the declaration. And although Bexar County did include the suburban cities, this is just to cover our bases to make sure the city itself is also included if for some reason it's only unincorporated areas.
Okay. Okay, so it's just ordinance. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
This declaration would allow us to apply for FEMA funding on the damages in the park.
It would, and I will tell you right now, I have instructed Ms. Shelton for any expenditure whatsoever that is related to this weather event. As an example, all the plumbing expenses. They've also gone down, they've done their own repairs where they could, so they had to go buy supplies at Home Depot and stuff. We are already tagging all of those expenses as their input so that I expect a reimbursement program for the municipalities to be coming. We don't have it yet, but we're trying to be proactive so that we could very quickly respond to that. If you'll remember last year, there was the CARES Act. So the federal government released some funding and we took advantage of that. Not like some of the other cities. We didn't go buy ambulances and all kinds of stuff, but we were very, very, very frugal with that money. And that money was very specific to the municipal operations. But this is the same type thing. When and if we are in a position to seek reimbursement on any of this, we will be prepared to quickly respond to that. It was a little more challenging last year with COVID because we were deep into it before we knew there was any funding coming. So we had to go back and capture that after the fact. I did hear the other day that the FEMA reimbursements to municipalities is a shared expense. So they would reimburse 75%. We would have to eat the 25%.
It's much better than 100%.
Oh, exactly. I mean, exactly, it would be. So my recommendation is that we extend this or approve this ordinance to extend this until such time as the needs of the community in general and the any other problems that tend to surface within the city related to this weather event are identified and rectified. I do see Alderman Crickmer has his hand raised. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, the ordinance covers the declaration, correct?
It does, yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Okay. Well, I did my part. Y'all are up now.
Okay, I'll go ahead and say it. I make a motion that we adopt the extension of the emergency declaration through this ordinance.
Before we move forward on that,
Seconded.
Shelton, do you have a number to put on here for this ordinance? Hold on, we're going to get a ordinance number on here.
To 2021 177.
Okay. It's going to be 2021-177.
Okay, then I make a motion that we adopt ordinance 2021-177, ordinance of the City Council of the City of Sandy Oaks, Texas, extending the mayor's declaration of local state of disaster due to severe winter weather emergency issued on February 14th, 2021. Designated an emergency management director, designated an emergency manager coordinator, and all other matters related to the declaration of local state of disaster.
And I'll second that one.
Okay, so we have a motion from Alderman Fillinger and a second by Alderman Rapino to approve ordinance 2021-177 related to extending the mayor's declaration of the disaster due to severe winter weather. Any other discussion or questions? Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, that motion carries. And with that, we will move on to item 10. It is 7:26.
Actually, Mayor, before
Oh,
you,
yes,
adjourn,
ma'am.
were you gonna go back to item 6 that you skipped, or did you mean to skip that for the meeting, or?
I meant to pull that one.
Okay.
So we'll pull item 6. We had no announcements from Marshall. Okay, it's still 7:26, and I want to thank everybody, and we are now adjourned. Have a great evening, everyone.
Good night, all.
Good night.
Bye,
Night.
good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Thank you.
Night.
Bye.
Aye.